Initiating becoming a hiring machine sequence in 3, 2, 1.
One thing that I found is like, there's tech that sounds good on paper, you buy it, and then it just kind of like sits as a bookmark in your web browser and you never use. And then there's tech that you're in every day using because there's value. And I think it comes down not so much to the perceived value of it. I mean, obviously there's value why you bought that first one, but it comes down to the UI. How easy is it to use, and does it incorporate into your day-to-day workflow? It's the most important things that I can think of, and I think that's why I love Matt and Ilya's strategy with why they built Loxo. It's built around a workflow. It's not built around specific point solutions. You have a database of like, here's 50,000 prospects that we could land, and then you think you're gonna go one by one through those 50,000, and you're gonna waste a lot of time, waste a lot of resources, waste a lot of money doing it. You should be grading those, really figuring out like who are truly like, if you go in and do an analysis of your own current clients, you'll usually be able to do like an 80-20 type thing where you're going to see 20% of your clients probably make up 80% of your revenue. Figure out what it is that is common between them.
Welcome to The Staffing Ring, the podcast where the gloves come off and we go deep into the recruitment industry's best practices and tactics. We aim to bring you actionable insights for how staffing and recruiting agencies are winning today. This production is brought to you by Ringover, the leading staffing communication platform connected to your ATS and CRM, empowering conversations for your recruiters.
Welcome to another episode of The Staffing Ring. I'm your host, Jason Lawson, and today our guest is Sam Keenley, VP of Marketing at Loxo. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you. Looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah. I think we're going to go into some really interesting topics here. Your role at Loxo, VP of Marketing, obviously you have a great view of the market, and also keen to kind of, pick your brains a bit from your previous roles, VP of Marketing and Demand Gen at Refine Labs, an agency that did amazing and still does amazing work, helping B2B SaaS companies scale their demand gen and marketing through some pretty innovative tactics. So excited. So if you'd like to give the audience a quick intro to Loxo, I'm sure it's pretty well-known brand, and a bit about yourself.
Yeah. All right. Quick intro to Loxo. We're a talent intelligence platform. What the heck does that thing mean? I've never heard of it. Recruiters listening to this know, in your day-to-day workflow, you've got an ATS you're dealing with, a recruiting CRM you're dealing with, some sourcing platform. You need contact information for those individuals, and how do you get in touch with them? How do you email them? How do you text them? Okay, cool. They're in the system. I need to report. I need to get in touch with all of our clients through a portal. You're bouncing between your too many tabs, and in Google Chrome, it probably wants to crash on you at the end of what you're trying to do, and it's slow, and it's not a cohesive workflow. So a talent intelligence platform has your exact workflow in one place. So it's super easy. You can work jobs, biz dev, you can get in touch with your different candidates, clients, anything, all within one spot. So you have one tab. It's beautiful. It's easy, and it's so easy to use. So it's just a consolidation of time, energy, and I also say like mind space. It's just so many less things to let recruiters have to think about so they can focus on what they do best, which is recruiting at the end of the day, not managing their tech.
Yeah, and I think certainly seeing what Loxo built, previously you'd kind of have to decide between the all-in-one or the best of breed. Now I can see Loxo really doing both, really, in terms of bringing all that workflow, data, automation, AI all into one platform. So right, let's get stuck into it. Everything on the Staffing Ring is fast-paced, so let's go into round one.
All right,
Sam, we're talking about challenges. Like we're recording this kind of mid 2024. Obviously, the economy is in flux, but also staffing recruiting is not where it was 2021, 2022. What are you seeing just from the clients and the conversations you're having at Loxo in terms of the key developments? What are the market forces that agency leaders should really be thinking about in today's environment?
Business development. I know it's not sexy. I know it's a common thing, but so many organizations are struggling with retaining clients, getting new clients, and also just how do you acquire them? Because as you said, 2020, 21, 22, the people were coming to you. It was so easy. You didn't have to do business development. All you had to do was have a website and a LinkedIn presence, and people were going to find you and be like, hey, I want to hire you. I'm trying to fill these roles, right? And now it's the opposite side where it's a completely different market. And I know like in the United States, just the other day, they announced that they were just shy of they overestimated the jobs report by nearly 1 million over the past 12 months. And I mean, that was like a 30% drop. So it's significant, right? And so you see that happening and recruiters are wondering, why can't I get jobs? It's like, well, there's a lot fewer jobs out there than what people were thinking. So yeah, the biggest thing that we're seeing time and again is just how can I attract new business, or how can I keep and or expand the existing clients I have if they're not hiring? Like, what other offers can I help them with to keep them?
Yeah, and certainly, it is one of the biggest challenges and opportunities. And I think there's a lot of roles out there which are probably available for an agency to go scope out. I think it's a lot of businesses are hesitant, and so it takes that business development to really, do perhaps that good, as I say, business development muscle, demanding muscle in terms of, curious on that then, what are you seeing in terms of that B2B SaaS kind of mindset of business development and demand gen that can really translate into how staffing agency can think about that more proactive, building awareness and pipeline?
Yeah. So the two things that I would say, one is something I learned in B2B SaaS, and one is that I learned when I was at the agency, which is a services company. So B2B SaaS, the biggest thing that I learned, saw, and what we told our clients was just assume 95% of the market, they're not looking to buy, they're not looking to hire, they're not looking to bring out another agency. So don't treat them like that. The goal isn't, hey, let's get on a call and I want to tell you why I'm the best recruiter out there and why you need to hire my firm. That's not what you need to do. You need to build trust with them. But before that, you need to build awareness so they even know you exist before they finally do have that hiring need. Because the last thing that you want to do is show up when they finally say, I have a need, I need to hire, I need a staffing agency. And they go to Google, best staffing agency in insert city, insert region for certain job type, right?
Right.
You want to win before Google. And so how you do that is by building the awareness and building the trust beforehand so that 95% of the market, educate them, help them, provide value, entertain them, but something to make your brand, your agency memorable. And that's what's going to lead to them coming back. So when they're finally like, we do need to start thinking about hiring, they're not going to go to Google and type in that search phrase. They don't want to waste that mental time to try to figure out that information, do the research. This is the same reason why as soon as someone's like, hey, do you know a good freelance designer? Do you know a good financial firm that we can reach out to? People want to recommend, and they go to that first. So if you can earn that spot, you're going to win head and shoulders over everyone else.
Yeah, that resonates so much with the conversations that we have here at Ringover in terms of where clients are at and customers and prospects. And how do you see the kind of landscape in terms of those agencies that kind of understand that? They will be nodding as I listen to this call and the podcast versus, but perhaps they just don't understand how to actually execute and get the tool set versus those that they're still doing it in the 2022 model.
Yeah. So you teed me up perfectly for the thing that I learned while at Refine Labs as an agency, trying to bring on our own clients is, and this is what's so beautiful about being a services company versus software, is you are the product at the end of the day. Your knowledge, your expertise, like that's your unique value, your selling proposition that no one else has. So the more that you can highlight that and demonstrate that, basically just show people what it's going to be like to work with you, not I'm the best agency recruiter in the world, I'm the best staffer in the world. Everyone can say that, right? Go to 20 websites. They're all going to say world's leading, number one this, best of that. But if you can prove it to them beforehand, so like get on a podcast, share videos, write up newsletters or blogs, but just share that expertise, that's where you win that. And they start to understand like, oh, wow, like Jason really does know his stuff. Like I fully see it. And so by proactively getting ahead of that, it's the easiest thing that you can do from a marketing or biz dev side, because what I always say is just the scenarios that you go through every day, that's your niche, your ICP, that's the same things that they're struggling with. So just anonymize it. Take out the client's name and just say, I was working with a company that's trying to solve for XYZ. Here's what we did. I was working for a company that wanted to hire this type of role. Here's how I approached it. Just take out the name. And that is the best marketing material that you can use because it's real, it's relatable. they can see themselves in the shoes of that type of organization that you're working with, and you're able to show results, how you think about it, how you approach it. And that's what's going to differentiate you from everyone else. And especially if you do it in a different or a better way, it's a perfect way of doing it without saying like, we're the world's best this, but like, let me show you how we are and why we get the results that we do.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And in thinking about those sort of tactics and strategies, do you feel like there's perhaps some big dynamics or market forces, even coming in the next 6 or 12 months, perhaps with AI or automation, that a lot of agencies may be not kind of fact plans?
I think a lot of them are trying, like, so many people are skeptical of AI in the sense of they've seen the quality of the output of it, like the AI written email templates, the AI written anything. And honestly, it works to the benefit of the person by not using it in a way, or like let AI do, like, use Gen AI to write 80% of your business development email, but then you go and you take the direction, you take the meat of it. Now you go add in your personality, add in your flavor, add in your context, your unique knowledge. And that's how you can get ahead. So you can either do it by just like going to the one side and say, I'm not going to do AI at all. If you're very boutique, very niche, like you want to do it anyway for one-to-one, you're going to have a list of, here's 100 accounts, 100 prospects that I would only ever be able to work with, develop those relationships, take that approach. If you are a little bit broader, then as I say, like use it, like we have Outreach GPT built into our product for this exact thing. And I don't tell people, I don't say like, send it as it is. That's the last thing I'll tell people to do is just send it, whatever spit out. Like you need to go in and tweak it and make the use of it. But that can span into anything from your business development or from what you want to do for your own marketing, sales, talk tracks, anything else. Like you can leverage it however works best for you, but don't lose that human element, because that's where all of the trust is gained. And if they read through it and they see, it's kind of like the personalization tokens. As soon as you see personalization token in an email, especially a bad one, you're like, man, this is just copy and pasted. They didn't spend the time to do it. So that same thing, it's a layer deeper with Gen AI versus some of those things that, we'd had in email platforms past couple of decades.
Yeah. And I'm sure, everyone listening has seen those kind of dear first name, and then the rest is very vanilla and broad. And look, I think it's cliched, but we hear a lot that AI is not going to take a recruiter's role. It's somebody who works with AI, who understands how to collaborate with the AI tools to get the best service to their clients and candidates. Awesome. Well, we're moving quickly. So round 2, I think I feel like we've already got into strategies and tactics to win. But I want to dive a bit deeper, Sam, in just terms of specifics and again, where we can bring out kind of B2B SaaS models, because I think there's a lot to be learned from other industries and really focusing in on how can that help staffing and recruiting. So thinking about kind of business development or bringing in new tool sets and new ways of working. Have you seen kind of innovation or unconventional ways that agencies are really thinking about that blend of technology, people, and process, and AI and automation?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I am the first person to always say like tech should be the last thing that you get to. I lived through the MarTech boom, right? So I saw so many companies go and just purchase hundreds of thousands of dollars on software and then try to build a strategy around their tech, which is the last thing that you want to do. You need to have a strategy, and then you figure out, okay, what are the tools, what are the processes, what are the resources and people that we need to accomplish that strategy? So the first thing I'll always say is just like the fundamentals are the fundamentals for a reason. So the biggest thing, most overlooked thing in business development is truly defining not just your total addressable market, your TAM, but like who are your ideal customers? You'll hear people talk about these as your ICP, but that's the biggest thing. Is you might have a database of like, here's 50,000 prospects that we could land, and then you think you're going to go one by one through those 50,000, and you're going to waste a lot of time, waste a lot of resources, waste a lot of money doing it. You should be grading those, really figuring out like who are truly, like, if you go in and do an analysis of your own current clients, you'll usually be able to do like an 80-20 type thing where you're going to see 20% of your clients probably make up 80% of your revenue. Figure out what it is that is common between them. Is it the types of roles that they hire, the seniority levels, the industry that they're in, the the specific offer that they're interested with you, and start to work backwards from that, and then define, okay, now that I know that, I'm going to take that 50,000 universe and figure, okay, there's actually only 10,000 of those who fit the criteria that would actually be really great fit for me. Because otherwise you're kind of stretching and you're wondering why you're losing deals, things aren't closing.
Yeah.
Give yourself the best opportunity to win. And that's where I often say, like, don't even think about channels, messaging, anything else before that. You got to start with where you're most likely to win, and then you start to cascade down from there. So I'll stop there for a sec before I go to the next part.
So I think what I've heard is really thinking about the fundamental core elements of the offer, and effectively recruiting, staffing is a two-sided marketplace. So trying to match out the candidate and the client and the placements. All of that is predicated on good data. So how are your clients thinking about or using Loxo to make sure the data is rich enough and relevant and contextual enough to actually make those decisions?
Yeah, I don't even call it the $1 million question. That's a $1 billion question, because ZoomInfo has built a business model off of it, and they're $1 billion company, right? So, I mean, for every company, every software, every tech out there, I will tell you, as a marketer, even as someone at Loxo, no tech will ever have perfect data. It's not going to happen. So I've just seen countless recruiters, agencies bounce from ZoomInfo to Apollo to us to Lucia to, insert any of those options. And I was like, the data's not good. Well, what's your standard? 100%? It's never going to be 100% anywhere. So that's what you need to kind of come to terms with a little bit on that side. But in terms of the enrichment side, that's where you can be a little bit smarter and figure out, okay, what can be automated, what needs to be done manually. So like that audience of 10,000 accounts earlier that we were talking about, say you graded them A, B, C, D, F. 1,000 of them were in your A group. You should be able to know or get, if you quickly went into your CRM, your sales CRM, what's their account, what's their website, how many employees do they have, what do they serve, like what are their products, who are key contacts within there. And you can go about enriching that two ways. You can use automation. You can get a tool like the ones I mentioned, ZoomInfo, Apollo, Loxo does it too. Or you can do it manually. If you have a BDR team, you can outsource it to somewhere like a freelancer, anywhere else. There's multiple options there. So once you really have that data, that's where you need to make it work to your advantage, so to speak. Because if all you know is an account name, your BDRs, your marketing, whoever it is, they're going to be spending more time on the research part of it, which makes it really tricky. So to go into the next step of what I like to think about is this concept that I'm really playing with for Loxo and in general, and just with how today's market buys, is I call it, you need to create a go-to-market ecosystem. And what I mean by that is, for so long in the B2B SaaS world, you have a sales function, you have a BDR function, you have a marketing function, you have a partner function, you have all these different revenue streams, right?
Yeah.
And they all work in silos going like that. But the reality is that there's so much interplay between them where, like, you see, this is why attribution fighting exists. Who should get credit for this deal? Who should get credit for this? And it's like, we both know that these are things that take 3, 6, 12 months to come to fruition, if not more. And usually it's from the relationship side. So does the person who took them out to lunch one time get credit for it? Does the one ad that got them to your website for the first time get credit for it? Like, there's so many different things within there. And I think the wrong question is what should get credit. And the right question is, how do we stack these different motions so that they interplay off of one another to create a disproportionate advantage for us? Like, these are force multipliers off of one another if you do it properly and you stop fighting over credit. I work with our BDR team now and I say, here's the accounts that we want to go after. Like, what messaging are you using? Here's what we're currently pushing to market. If I time it up so that they can see an ad before the BDR calls, that changes the dynamic of the, hey, I'm Sam calling from Loxo, how are you? And the prospect's like, wait, Loxo, what is that? I've never heard of it. Like, I don't have time for this. Click. They hang up. To, oh yeah, Loxo, I just saw a study about like what you did with this customer that's just like me, like curious or great timing, the conversation is open then. So two completely different instances where, the BDR makes a call and the outcome is completely different because of what preceded it. Not to say that one of those isn't more valuable than the other, but it just shows like that's a force multiplier effect. And why I say, when you think about your business development strategies, really think about ecosystems. What are all the different places that you can engage, get in touch, communicate with your market and just think about how they interplay with one another, and just put yourself in the shoes of your prospect to do that. Don't overthink it. You don't have to get crazy, like, what tech do I need first for this or anything else. Just be like, all right, when was the last time I bought something? How did we go about it as an organization? And then it's just like, what research occurred? Who did you talk to? What did you listen to? And just think through it from that motion. Then you can start to construct with your ICP, how do we build something similar to that for us? And that's kind of it simplifies things a little bit, because you're not so reliant on tech attribution, paying for all the crazy stuff. Is just like consistently do the right things, provide value, be helpful, and just be like, the relationship side is so important with it. Make sure you're getting FaceTime with them and just like being a trusted face versus Jason's calling in. I know he's going to try to sell me on something this month. Like it's such a different dynamic.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think we should really pause there, because I just, what you've spoken through and delivered there, Sam, I think, we could just press play and repeat and just, that is golden, and I can really appreciate, and, the experience you've gained through, your years of marketing and Refine Labs to actually have that view. And I think, for a lot of the audience, whether in small to medium agencies in the staffing and recruiting, how to apply that, how to really think about, what's the ecosystem of touch points to their client base and to their candidate base too. Like, particularly in permanent and exec search, candidates can often be, the next day a client. So how are you thinking about, if you're not doing 360 recruiting, if you've got your BD team and your candidate, team, how's that messaging, how are you aligning the positioning and messaging across the agency? Are there any other things you can think about in terms of all that good stuff you've spoken about from your perspective, and how agencies can rethink about, deploying that mindset?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, then how do you use tech to your advantage to accomplish all of it? So knowing what's your end goals, what are you trying to accomplish? Do you have tech that can allow you to, okay, here's the companies that I want to go after. Do you have a place where you can store them? Do you have a sales CRM for that? Can you track the conversations that you've had with them? Can you leave notes and activities for yourself? Does that information stay up to date? Say they move jobs, they go to a new place. Do you get a quick flag to just say like, hey, Jason just moved to a new company. He was a client here. They're not a client there. That's a great opportunity for us to go prospect to them, since he's familiar and he knows the results that we can drive. So use tech for things like that. And then even on the research side, there's tools like Copy AI out there, which are absolutely phenomenal on the research front. And what I love about it, I had Kyle Coleman, he's their CMO, on our podcast just a few weeks ago. Sorry, it would have been early August. I don't know when this episode's going to go out, but early August on our podcast.
Yeah.
And he was just running through all that their platform does. And it's absolutely brilliant, because it basically takes all of the front end research out that usually takes a BDR or an AE, someone 20, 30 minutes to accomplish, to do it well. So you can then craft a message to understand, what do they do? What's this person's title? What do they care about? What current things are going on within their business? And it does all that research. It looks at podcasts that they could have been on, any social posts. It does research on their company, just like the who are they, industry reports, any press releases that they've put out, earnings reports, and it consolidates all that for you in 2 minutes. I mean, it just depends on what you put in. And so that's where I say, like, once you know your strategy, once you hone in on those accounts, that's where you can then use tech to just say, okay, like, we've got 1,000 accounts that I do want to do personalized one-to-one outreach on. And people are like, well, that's still a lot of emails. That's a lot of messages. How can I do that research? That's where you take the tech like this, that goes and takes what would have been 30 minutes into 30 seconds. Now you can craft that outreach and say, like, hey, Jason, just saw your CEO's post the other day about XYZ. Seems like you guys are focused on ABC. Like, figure out just like what your value pitch is from there, that value that you can add, the content, but it gets so much of that manual part out of the way. And that's exactly what tech should be helping with, so that you can do the parts that you do best, which is the relationship side of it.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to take note. Actually, just last night, I was looking at copy.ai and thinking about signing up. So maybe you're, in terms of attribution, let's see how I can write that down when I sign up later today. And I'll drop
exactly. If you want to tell Kyle, I want a commission.
Copy.ai, or
we'll love it.
Quick sign up for being an affiliate, and then I'll sign up with your link.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll send me some stickers as a thank you.
And just for the audience, again, I'll drop in the show notes, Becoming a Hiring Machine. Is that right, Sam? Your podcast?
Yep.
I've
Yep.
listened to a few episodes. I think brilliant guests, brilliant talk track. So definitely recommend, cross-promoting a podcast on a podcast. How meta is that?
Yeah. No, thank you. I appreciate that. So, I mean, we're doing the same thing as you. Just like, how do we help recruiters do better? We're not trying to sell you anything, but just the day-to-day. What's going on? What can you learn? How can you apply it?
Absolutely. Right. Let's go. Round 3. Getting deep into the rounds now. So we're talking product. I think we've really delved, a lot into this, into product innovations. I think, certainly what still is a pain point for a lot of agencies, particularly small, medium agencies, is, it's a tough business, right? Managing, leading, staffing, there's high turnover, there's young graduates coming in, training, people being remote and hybrid. How do you think, from you've said it, don't just jump in and load yourself out with technology, but at the same time, you're saying copy AI and various things. So how should agency leaders, when they don't have a lot of resource and not a lot of time, how can they think about balancing the people and the technology and wanting to stay ahead and innovate?
Yeah, today, there's so many tech options out there, right? Like for a rock, it's gonna slide into 10 and hit all of them. One thing that I found is like, there's tech that sounds good on paper, you buy it, and then it just kind of like sits as a bookmark in your web browser and you never use. And then there's tech that you're in every day using because there's value. And I think it comes down not so much to the perceived value of it. I mean, obviously there's value why you bought that first one, but it comes down to the UI. How easy is it to use, and does it incorporate into your day-to-day workflow? So those are the two single most important things that I can think of. And I think that's why I love Matt and Ilya's strategy with why they built Loxo. It's built around a workflow. It's not built around specific point solutions. It's like, what's a recruiter need to accomplish? How do they do it? And as few steps as possible, or as few clicks as possible, so to speak. So I think that's the first part is, if you can make it easier, people are going to want to make their, like, how can I be more effective? How can I make my job easier and still get the same or better results? So that comes from the workflow side of it. And then you just have to deal with adoption, because you could have the best workflow ever, but if you're looking at a piece of tech that looks like it was built on Windows 95, you're not going to get good adoption, especially from some of these new grads or other places. They're just like, there's so many better ways of doing this. I'm just going to use ChatGPT to skip half this stuff because I don't like using this platform. So that's on the tech then to make sure that they're building for just how people use software today. And that's best practice. That's product design at the end of the day. So I would definitely look at that, because I think that also is an insight into the company and how they look at the market, their future. Are they building for the future, or are they just building to keep the money that they have right now and just kind of rest on their laurels? Are they innovating or not? So, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of details, other check boxes that you could get into, but I'd honestly say that at the simplest level, whether it's rec tech, martech, sales tech, anything, those are the two things that I really look at. Is just like, how does this as part of my workflow, and is it easy to use, where some like the barrier to entry, the change management load is going to be light to minimal.
Right. Yeah. And I think, think about UI and UX, it's the user. So, a lot of, and this goes across many industries where platforms are kind of bought without that kind of deep understanding of, okay, the recruiters, is this going to be an enjoyable experience for them? And a great technology setup can be, actually attractive to, for talent recruitment into the agency, but also talent, retention. So, for me, it's more than just, does it solve a problem? Is it a joined up solution that people can, it can empower your team to do more and be effective and efficient. So,
and one thing that's interesting within there is like integrations, or the marketplace. You see, like, are you integrated with this product? Do you connect with that one? And I would say to think a little bit more about the question you're asking, because I mean, it's so easy that you can integrate anything, you can pop anything through Zapier nowadays, but if you're still jumping from systems, it's not really syncing in properly. Is that the question that you should be asking. Is it solving for what you want it to do? Or is it just like it's saving you a couple clicks? Whereas if you think about the true workflow, like why isn't this just all in one spot? Or is there a better way to do this? So I've seen a lot of integrations where we're integrated, but then you find out that it's, yeah, technically, but it's a lot of copy and pasting. It's a lot of duplicative work. It's not a true software integration in that. So like, regardless of what type of software you're buying, that's one of the first things I always get into is if they're trying to sell you on the partner marketplace or the integrations, I would look at that because they're using that as a crutch to solve many other features, things that you need to do as a day-to-day, and they're relying on someone else to do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think even some of the largest marketplaces, talk about kind of app exchanges of many sorts and out in B2B land, that they're still not plug and play, that they still need often a system integrator that becomes an expensive and sometimes complex way to kind of develop and keep with your business as it grows. I can certainly see a lot of, modern reasons why, that more all-in-one play can become much more compelling for agencies today. Brilliant. Well, let's get on to round 4, speedball. So this is some quickfire Q&A for you, Sam. Hope you're warmed up enough for this. Here we go.
We'll find out.
Let's see. Like you're walking into the stadium, and the ring's in the middle of the stadium there. What's your walk-on music theme song?
Oh man, that's a good one. I don't know why this one's in my head. Have you seen the movie 300?
Yes. Yeah.
I can't think of it's one of the songs that plays in there. I know this is an awful answer right now because I'm just like, that one song for 300, but it's like, this is going to drive me crazy. I'll follow up with you on it. I will link it.
All right.
I'll send it to you.
We'll drop it in the show notes.
But it's one of the ones that just like gives you the goosebumps.
Yes. Yeah.
Like with this big opening scene. Yeah. So it's our terrible answer. Now you decide if you want to use this or not.
No, I think I can almost put it in my mind, but okay, it'll be a surprise for those who drop into the show notes and see that. Talking fighting, best movie, Fight Club or Rocky?
I want to say Fight Club, but Rocky's such a classic. Like Fight Club's a good movie, but Rocky is an absolute classic.
It is. Red corner or blue corner?
Just like color or what's
color, just color? What? Yeah. So some people
red.
come from.
I grew up.
Huh?
Red. Absolutely red. All the soccer teams I played for growing up, the winning one, we were always red.
There you go. That's probably 9 times out of 10 it comes from a sports team people follow or play for. So interesting.
Yep.
Beach or snow?
Beach. I live in Florida. We used to be in South Carolina. We're always on the coast, right on the ocean. So our living choice very much has answered that for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. I know. I'm American. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I got my cold brew already right here.
Nice. Salsa, guacamole?
Oh, guacamole. Absolutely guacamole. I got our family. We have this recipe for homemade guacamole. Every time family gets together and everything, it's you go to the store, you get it pre-made. It's not the same as just fresh guac that you'd be amazed at how quickly a family of 4, 6, 8 can clean a bowl that had like 8 avocados in it.
Well, no pun intended, but yeah, guacamole is smashing salsa through these Q&As. So, yeah.
I believe it.
Are you a texter or a caller? How do people get hold of you?
I'm a texter.
Ah.
I'm a texter. It's just easier.
Yeah.
On the go. I'm all between, we were talking before, and I've got a 16-month-old. Trying to get a hold of me on the phone and where I can sit for 5 minutes is not existent right now, unless it's after like 9 p.m.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Multitasking at its finest. Virtual or in real life?
In real life. I always enjoy presence. And I know it's ironic because I work at a remote company, right? But yeah, anytime you can get people together, it's always fun. It's always enjoyable, and it's a different level to relationships.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. I didn't know Loxo was fully remote. I knew both hybrid, but yeah, I think
post-COVID, fully remote, teams distributed internationally. I mean, it's cool. The culture that comes in as a result of it.
Yeah, yeah. You do build different muscles, don't you, to really develop that culture and that team spirit. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. I'm going to bypass this question. Well, I'll throw it to you. Best of breed or all in one?
I think you know the answer to that one. We are all in one all day and best of breed.
Best of breed. Yeah, absolutely. Ebooks or physical books?
Physical books. I can't do ebooks. I don't know why. I'm the kind of guy that I've always got a pen when I'm reading books. I mark them up and then they're my trophies afterward. I like my bookshelf. I mean, my goal at the end of my life is just have a library, just shelves on shelves of books. So yeah, all day.
Awesome. Talking books, any recent good reads or old classic recommendations for the audience?
Oh, recent good reads, classic recommendations. I'm looking at the ones I've gone through recently. Some of them are just like late night scrub reads, just check my mind out. But let's see. There's one, it's called Boyd, the Fighter Pilot Who Changed, like the Art of War. Biography. He was an Air Force fighter pilot who helped design I think it was the F-15 and F-16 or F-14 and F-15. But the OODA loop. Are you familiar with the observe, orient, decision, action? It's kind of like a feedback loop.
Okay.
So he designed, like, that was his methodology that he came up with, and it came from fighter jets. It just came down and cascaded even to the tech world and everywhere else. But interesting man who basically his premise was you can be someone and like you can go high in an organization, have the title, have everything that, or you can do something. You can make a change. You're probably going to ruffle some feathers. You're not going to be loved by everyone, but you'll make significant change and meaning in the world. Right. So just a really cool story about this character and what he went through. Yeah. The character, he was a real person, but yeah, I think that's hands down probably my favorite book of all time so far.
Yeah, I've not heard of it, so I'll certainly look it up and drop in the show notes again for those wanting to have a look.
Perfect.
Yeah, sounds really fascinating actually. I think thinking about staffing and recruiting as a very focused agency kind of model. I think there's always a lot of external kind of other businesses or industries where they can learn a lot from, and vice versa. But I think it's and that's part of the reason the podcast is really to bring some different thinking and kind of perspectives and hopefully help agencies just do more and keep growing. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a time to learn from the thought leaders in your space, but there's also so much to be learned when you get outside your own bubble, and you'd be amazed at how much you can apply from those external places and just translate it to what you do, the scenarios you're in. A lot of those learnings carry over.
Yeah. Okay, we're cooling down. We've flexed I think a few insightful muscles here today. So yeah, awesome. Just to wrap up, Sam, thinking about the next kind of 6 or 12 months, I think there are a lot of good signals. It's still going to be moving from that sort of surviving to thriving mode. What excites you about the industry, like staffing, recruiting, agency industry?
It's one of very few jobs that truly impacts a person's life. When you think about it, like you're finding people the role that's perfect for them, or should be at the end of the day, right? And when you think about your job, I mean, we spend 24 hours in a day, 8 hours at work, 8 hours sleeping. So not eight hours for your personal stuff, like on average, we're talking about here, but like that's a third of a person's life at that point. Like you're helping them figure out what they're doing with that. So I don't know many more impactful things that the person isn't directly choosing themselves that you can influence. So when you really think about like, I get to help this person find like the perfect job for them at an organization that they'll thrive in, a role that they're enjoying on, whether it's a product, a service, whatever it is. But I know people always say like no one went to school to be a recruiter, but it's actually a really cool position when you think about the impact that you can have with it. So for me, that's why I always say like that's something that'll always excite me about the industry is just like the capacity for what you're able to accomplish.
Yeah, I'm right with you. Having been kind of in the industry the last 3 or 4 years, you're really just understanding and seeing the impact. And prior to that, having been on both sides of the table, applying and recruiting, there's still a lot of opportunity for people and technology to help improve that matching process
significantly.
And I think that that can boost, as I say, people's careers, the company prospects, and actually the entire economy. If that matching can level up, it's, to me, it could be transformational, beyond what many or most industries are capable of. So
and I know we're in the cool down. I don't want to completely throw us off guard, but like that's why things like skills-based hiring are so interesting to me, when it's not like, how do you transfer the skills of someone into something where, say they were earning $15 an hour over here, that they could make $150 an hour over there. They just didn't know that their skills could transfer to that. So that's your role and what you can help people do. Like that's impacting livelihoods.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's like that example of taking a bottle of water that's sold in the local supermarket through to maybe a restaurant, or maybe to an airline, that same bottle, but in a different context, as the value multiplies.
Yeah.
Awesome. So wrapping up, any questions I should have asked you, or any kind of takeaways you kind of want to just wrap up for the audience today?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest one, it's what we say at Loxo all the time, just like, be curious. Don't just accept things the way that they always are, just because, you've always done recruiting a certain way, your company's always done it a certain way. Just think, is there a better way? If so, what would it look like? And don't think in terms of tech yet. Like, just think of like, what would the perfect flow for this be? And I would love it if that's with Loxo. Most of the time it might not be. I don't care, but just like taking that scope with like anything that you do, if you're in marketing, if you're in sales, if you're in engineering, if you're a manual labor, I always say, just because things have always been done a certain way doesn't mean that they should continue to. And I think that's what excites most people, and that's where we continue to really see just crazy positive results. So I guess that's kind of the thing that I would say to wrap up with.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to add anything to that, because I think that is, just the essence of, this whole conversation and your kind of, outlook, and certainly from what I see in Loxo and the good work you're doing out there. So that's it. That's a wrap. Thank you, Sam, very much for being a guest on the Staffing Ring podcast.
Yeah, I love this conversation. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right, everyone, that is a wrap. Thank you again for joining us on this edition of the Staffing Ring podcast, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
This production is brought to you by Ringover. If you're a staffing or recruiting agency wanting to improve and scale your client business development or candidate engagement, and you want to learn about the very best communication tools and tactics, you can find out more information by visiting ringover.com. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. And if you enjoyed this episode today, please leave us a 5-star rating. Thank you for listening to The Staffing Ring, and we'll see you in the next episode.